Hello, my name is Palmer, and I will be introducing you all to our project on fracking by going through some of the background and politics surrounding the topic. I will begin by introducing the project as well as the background, and then I will pass it off to Brian to discuss economics. Jake will discuss the details in regards to energy. Dennis will then talk about the environmental impact, and finally, Ryan will discuss some possible solutions. On my next slide, you will see the problem statement. America's needs for energy continue to rise, and as it does, so does our dependency on oil and natural gas. Acquiring these fuel sources leads to a large environmental impact, such as pollution in the air, ground, and water, as well as earthquakes and more. The problem is that as large reserves have been found at relatively low prices, this then makes renewable sources seem incredibly expensive in comparison. Too expensive, in fact, to pursue and improve. On my next slide, I will discuss the history. Hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, is the act of drilling a well into the earth and pumping in water at a high pressure in order to extract oil and natural gas. Billions of years of buildup of oil and natural gas has led to large reserves that have been mined with varying efficiencies since the mid-1800s. Hydraulic fracturing began in the United States in 1949, and in the 90s, a large step forward in the process was made. And that is when wells started utilizing horizontal exploration, which widened the area that could be mined. A large boom occurred in 2005 when newer models determined that there was a much larger amount of shale oil reserves under the continental U.S. Looking forward on my next slide, I will take you through the extraction process. Drilling starts with the company acquiring the land rights to where they want to drill and the surrounding area, about 4 to 5 acres for the stage bed. Then the company will need more land for prepping storage facilities, a site for wastewater, and they will also need to prepare roads typically in order to transport all of the water and fuel in and out. A well is then drilled down between 7,000 and 10,000 feet where the shale rock formations are. That is then reinforced with concrete in 1,000-foot increments. The horizontal drilling then occurs out from the widened affected area. Explosions are placed into the horizontal drilled wells in order to expand the fracturing surfaces and create perforations in the rock. After the explosions occur, millions of gallons of water mixed with detergents, salts, acids, alcohol, lubricants, and disinfectants are pumped into the well at a high pressure. The building pressure leads to the previously created holes being continually fractured and expanded. This frees the oil and gas that has been trapped in, and it now flows up the well to be collected due to its relatively lower density. It is then stored and transported to the correct processing facilities. Only some of the water mixture is then recaptured and taken to treatment facilities. The rest is absorbed into the ground, where it can go on to contaminate water sources. After the process has been repeated until it is no longer beneficial to do so, the land is restored to a level required by the federal governments, and then it is typically abandoned. Finally, moving to my last slide, I will discuss politics and the effect it has on fracking. It used to be that when you owned land, you owned the air above it and the land below the surface. But that has changed in 1916 for some western states, when the government reserved mineral rights below the surface. In states where that hasn't gone through, there are also states where home builders can secure the rights and maintain ownership to them, even after they sell you the house, and they do not need to disclose that type of ownership status. If drilling occurs at one property, not only can it impact the surrounding properties, contaminating water supplies, making noise, and more, but the oil from the surrounding properties can also be extracted from the one well. This is essentially robbing those other property owners of what they should be paid for. State governments typically hold regulatory authority over fracking. However, arguments likely to do much better are for the federal government and the states working together. If the states were in charge of regulating, there would likely be different laws for each state, which could lead to confusion and inconsistencies. However, it would be much more specific to the state's unique circumstance. If there were federal guidelines, it would be one consistent set of laws across all of the U.S. However, it may not do a good job of addressing specific concerns by each state The simple solution then is that there is a cooperative federalism, which would allow the federal government to lay out blanket laws regarding fracking, and then it is up to each state to build on that. Some states have already banned fracking, whether or not they currently have any reserves. Others have allowed it, and some specific and elaborate laws surround those. However, there are some states that do not have as many regulations set on them as others. Some states have allowed it, but they have now decided to switch sides and attempt to ban it. That is what I have to say on the history and some of the politics surrounding fracking. I will now pass it off. Thank you.